wounds, veins. Yeah, just nasty and freaking awesome. So if you want to see how I got this look, then just keep on watching. So first I'm just using some scar wax and just putting that down on my nose. I warm it up between my fingers first to get all the lumps out of it and just get it more pliable and stick it to my nose. Then I'm taking some bag balm. It's like Vaseline, so anything similar to that will work, and it just smooths it out. This stuff is super sticky, so if you don't put some kind of like ointment on your hands before you do this, then it's just going to keep lifting itself up. Now I put some of the bag balm onto the spatula, and I'm just making a little wound in the scar wax that's on my nose. And I use the bag balm to just blend all the edges into my skin and just smooth it all out and just make it really seamless onto my nose. I don't use any adhesive for this because the scar wax is super sticky, and as long as you're either one, putting it on for a short period of time, or two, putting it to a part of your body that is not going to move, like you know for sure you're not going to be moving it, it will just stick on its own. So if you put it to a movable part of your body, especially if you're going to be moving it a lot, I would use some sort of adhesive first and make sure that it's really going to stay. Now I'm just drawing out the area where I want my mouth to be ripped open and putting down a layer of liquid latex. Taking a cotton ball and ripping it into little strips, I'm just putting that down onto the latex and then putting another layer of latex over top of that. Liquid latex is horrible. I mean, it's good, but it's horrible in this aspect that anything it touches, it's going to ruin. So if it gets on your clothes, it doesn't come out. If it gets in your hair, I've never gotten it in my hair, so I don't really know how you would get it out or whatever, but yeah, just try not to do that. Also, if it gets into your brushes, it doesn't come out of that either. So keep that in mind. You don't want to touch it with any brushes or anything until it's completely dry. And you also want to set it with a powder before applying color. So this is homemade FX gelatin, and this is what it looks like when it is hardened. I keep it in the refrigerator. It's reusable. You can just heat it up in 10-second increments every time you want to use it. Stir it between each 10 seconds, put it back in, and then it will become really loose, like jello. Yeah, and it's pretty cool. I'm just airbrushing my face with this kind of off-whitey with a little bit of gray color into it. It's a pretty good color for a dead effect. Now I'm just taking that homemade gelatin and I'm putting it onto the latex. Another tip about the gelatin is as soon as you pull it out of the microwave, you want to let it sit. If you just try to put it directly onto your skin, it will burn you. So be very careful. I'll leave the recipe for the gelatin in the description bar below so you can make it yourself. I added some of the color that I used on my face into mine. You don't have to, it'll just be clear. I like to powder this stuff also because it's kind of shiny when it dries. So, yeah. It also drips a lot, so I try to hold the container underneath it. That way if it dripped, it just like went right back in there. Now just using my spatula and lifting up on the tissue that's closest towards my mouth, just so it looks like the skin was kind of ripped open. So I added a couple more wounds to my chest off camera and painted that part as well. I'll paint my arms later on off camera, but this is what I had so far. I had to wait for everything to dry and I hate just sitting there, so yeah. So I'm using several different colors of alcohol activated paints. I'm using black, green, yellow, and red. 2 different red colors. So yeah. I'm just using a really small stippling brush and I'm just stippling that all over. I really like to use the yellows and the greens because it really gives like a thick effect. And that face right there was because the alcohol paints are very, very strong. The smell. Yeah, that just happened. And now I'm just filling in the wounds with black to give them a little bit more depth. We'll fill them in more with another product later on. Now I'm using some cream paints and just putting those in the wounds, around the wounds. I'm using the same set of colors, just a different type for this. So the same, I'm using red, green, yellow. I did add a little bit of purple as well. Any of your like bruised toned colors is pretty much what I'm adding. And just play around with this, like have fun, just if you add too much of something, put in another color to dilute it, use your color wheel, stuff like that. It's really cool, really easy. I love zOmBiEs, especially because, well, I've always loved them. They've always been like my #1 first love in makeup. And that was what got me into special effects and body paints, everything. So I absolutely love them. I love that every time you do it, it's like completely different. Yeah, I just love it. But yeah, just play around, figure out, like, look at bruise pictures online, just see what colors they are, like where is the majority of the pigment, what pigments are where, all that stuff, and you guys will nail it. So I'm using a water activated paint. This is just a white one. I'll use the black one and go around in between the teeth and all the negative space. If you're wearing this out somewhere, like for Halloween, for costume or something like that, then you do not want to use a water activated paint if it is going to rain. Water activated means you have to add water into it to make it work. So as soon as it hits water, it will come right off. And the alcohol activated paints are obviously activated by alcohol. So you have to take 99% alcohol. I order mine online and pour it into the palette, and then you mix it up and it will get more and more pigment and it'll be ready for you to use it. So now I'm using the black color and just going in between the teeth, around the teeth, everywhere, everywhere. You don't have to be precise with the white because obviously at this point you can fix any mistakes that you made in the shape of them, size of them, anything. Everything's fixable. Now, I don't think zombies have white teeth, like you're decaying, you're dead, you're sick, you're infected, whatever. So I like to paint the teeth white because it just, to me, it makes more sense. So I paint them yellow, and then taking a matte brown, I'm just creating a little bit of shadow on the tooth. I concentrate the majority of the pigment towards the top of the tooth and drag it down with a lot lighter hand as it hits the bottom, so that way it fades down about halfway down the tooth. For the bottom, I go the opposite way. I put the most pigment on the bottom and work my way up. So now for contouring, I am using a matte brown color and a matte black. You want to use all mattes for anything like this because it just, unless you're a zombie who like fell into a sparkle factory, it just doesn't make any sense. So, but if that's your thing, that's your thing. Do you, boo? But yeah, I go in with all mattes and just carve out all my little collarbones and all that. I lean forward because once I put all the white on, it was kind of hard to see like my collarbones. They weren't really defined. I was just super flat there. So when you lean forward, it makes them pop out and a lot easier to find. So if you have a hard time finding where your bone structure is on your body when you are trying to do something like this, then just lean forward and they'll pop out really good. So yeah. Now using the same colors as my chest, I'm just going in and carving out them cheekbones, So with beauty makeup, we don't want to contour too far down because it makes us look sunken in. For this, we want to do the opposite. We want to go too far because you're dead, you're sunken in, you're gross, like, yeah. We want that to create the illusion of bags under our eyes, smile lines, the whole 9 yards. Everything that we cover up with beauty makeup, we want to emphasize here. So keep that in mind. I did contour my nose just because I felt like it made a little bit more sense. I was contouring everything else, so to me it was just kind of weird because I thought like my nose would still be probably like skinnier looking or something. It would be something. Now I'm applying a purple base. You can add whatever you want. I was just too lazy to find my black one, so I applied the purple one. It doesn't really make a difference. Like in the photos and everything, you couldn't tell that I had put purple, so it's up to you. I kind of liked the purple because it does make it look a little bit bruised as well. So, you know, just whatever you want to do, play around with it and see what you like. So we're doing the smoky eye from hell pretty much. We are just putting it everywhere, that matte black, just smoking it out all the way up to our eyebrows. We're dragging it down. We're going for it. Smoky eye on fleek, right? And if you don't want it to go up to your eyebrows, don't take it to your eyebrows. It's completely up to you. You know, customize it to whatever your liking is. So I decided to go in and make some veins. I absolutely love veins. I think they add to the creepy effect and they're just awesome. So I'm using a kind of bluey vein toned alcohol activated paint. This color actually matches my vein color on my arms identically. Like well, you can see my veins on my shoulder area on my right arm. But yeah, I drew on my arm with it and it was like identical, so it worked out pretty good. So I make it the darkest and the thickest where I start the vein, and I drag it lighter as it goes out and kind of moving like squiggly little lines. So I'm using this scab blood and just putting it into my wounds to make it look like, you know, my wounds are old and healing-ish, I guess. Well, I guess they wouldn't be healing, but you know what I mean. It just adds to the realness factor. Taking stage blood and just putting that all around my nasty, dripping, ripped open mouth and all the wounds and everywhere else. I also added it to the inside of the wounds on my neck and all that as well. So now taking blood and rubbing it everywhere because, you know, we're a zombie. Like, we've been through some stuff. We've been trying to eat people. They've been trying to get out alive. So yeah, it only makes sense. I also took the matte brown and rubbed it all over my shirt to make it look dirty because, like I said, we've been through some stuff. Now I'm using this blood. This one's really cool. It leaves like a drippy effect and it stays like that. It's pretty awesome. And just putting that all over the wounds wherever desired. So this is it for the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like, and I love you guys so much, and I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.